You're listening to Who's Tom and Dick, a weekly podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers, fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and Patrick Mortimer, living with heart disease. Why not grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the chatter as we discuss and share information, talking about tough subjects, and offering help, support, and motivation with a positive mental attitude.
Good morning, Martin. How are you today?
I'm fine, and God, what a windy day it is today.
It is. Back on the road again today.
But do you know what? It's so windy, one of my chickens laid the same egg twice.
We do get these jokes occasionally come in. But
Tell the people where we are, Pat.
Anyway, we're lucky to be here today at East Anglian Children's Hospice, the Treehouse here in Ipswich. And we're joined by two men, Matt Plummer, who's the Media and PR Manager, and Brad McLean, who's Chair of the Trustees. So we're in great company today.
We are. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome. Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for joining us.
And thanks for that nice piece of cake I had as well.
You're very welcome. Glad you enjoyed.
Yeah.
We couldn't get him out of the restaurant. If I can start with you, Matt, could you just tell us a little bit about what each is and what it does and what the Treehouse offers?
Of course. So each is an organisation offering care and support to families all the way across East Anglia, Suffolk, Norfolk, Cambridgeshire and North Essex as well. And that care and support comes in all different ways. It could be short breaks at our hospices. It could be symptom management nursing, different types of therapies, bereavement support, sibling support, physiotherapy, occupational therapy. There's lots of different factors within that support, and it's support for the whole family. That's the really important thing. It's obviously there's care there for the child with a life-threatening condition, but also very much for parents, siblings, grandparents. It's all-encompassing support, and it's really very much a case of making the best of life, creating memories, living life to the full. And that's what we try and do here at the Treehouse, which is one of our 3 hospices. We also have the Nook just south of Norwich, and at Milton, a village just north of Cambridge. So yeah, it's an organisation that's just growing and thriving and makes an enormous difference to people, as I say, all across the region.
Is it fully funded then through donations and support? Charity organisations?
Yeah, largely.
Fundraising?
Yeah, 15% around about 15% of our income comes from statutory sources, but the remainder, which is obviously an overwhelming percentage, has to come through either voluntary donations, our retail operation, which is vast. So we're very much dependent on the goodwill of the public and their support. Yeah,
and did the recent cuts affect you at all? Have you seen a reduction in support from the government? Or
yes, we have. So with the changes that we had with the national insurance, the living wage increase, which of course we support, it was about £1 million to the charity. That money hasn't come back through any government sources, so it was a cost to us.
Yeah,
there are funding that have happened. So there's a children's hospice grant, which is supposed to be coming at some point soon. That's an April grant that we're still waiting for here in June.
Yeah,
the capital fund that was released in early December time, but that's only for capital for hospices. So there were some announcements made, but from operating costs day to day, it's put more pressure on our fundraising and our retail to keep the services going, just to stay where we are. So it's an extra £1 million just to stay at the same level that we were last year.
All right.
And how many people are in your sort of fundraising team? And is it a fundraising team per place, or is it just
a bit of both? So we've got combined fundraising teams from a sort of a more senior level, and then we do have on the ground local teams. So there's community teams, corporate teams. We have teams that work in trusts, philanthropy. So all the different areas that we could possibly look at to try and access funding and working with families. We have some really long-term supporters, people that have supported us in trusts for many, many, many years that continue to support us, some without ever having to go back to them. They just checks arrive in the mail. And lots of times we're searching for more funding or for project funding as well. So we do have to have a whole team. If you don't have that team, the money's never going to just arrive. So we've got a fantastic fundraising team.
You've got a number of shops as well, I notice.
Yeah, 52 shops we have at the
52.
moment.
Wow.
Yeah, 52
And they all
shops.
East Anglia based.
All East Anglia, very specific where we go. So obviously we want to be around our hospices, but we also do outreach into places that aren't, where we don't have hospices. Helps with awareness, helps for people to understand what each is, if we don't have a hospice sort of locally close to them. So we've tried to hit patches all the way out through East Anglia. So you'd be pretty unlucky not to find one of our stores close to a high street.
Yeah.
Going back to the hospice then, Matt, you say this is for the children and for the parents. What do you offer the parents?
So there's all different types of support. There's all different groups and events that families can come to together. So that it's a shared experience, so they can do things together. We have an example that springs to mind is a band practice session that happens every other month here. And it's a chance for families to come together and do something they might not ordinarily be able to do. Come along, see some music, sing some songs, have some fun together, do different things like that. We've got an event coming up next month called Tree Fest, which is again is a lovely opportunity for families to come together. It's like a big party day. It's a real showpiece day here at the Tree House. So that's another example of something that families can do together.
Yeah.
Something that I think is particularly good is our sibling days, which again, before I started working here, it's not something I'd really contemplated, and others have said the same to me. But within every school holiday, each of the 3 hospices organise a sibling day for the brothers and sisters of children receiving care, or perhaps bereaved siblings. And they're either at the hospices, or often they're really fun days out at places like zoos, different parks, all different places. The team are really fantastic at exploring different options, temping bowling, like a quasar-style laser game, as some children did recently. So I think that's a really lovely example of something that people perhaps aren't aware of, but again, really makes a difference. And the feedback really suggests that, the children really love to do these things.
And thank you guys for showing us around. It was fantastic. And I just got to ask, are each of your places as busy as this one? I mean, there just seems to be somebody everywhere here, and all got their own function of work. So are they all as busy as this one?
They are, and some are busier depending on certain times of the day as well, and depending what's happening. So, as you said, there's a couple of children in here today who are getting care, and depending how complex the care is, depends on how many support staff, nursing staff, symptom management staff that might need to be with them. You saw a lot of our volunteers around today as well, a huge volunteer workforce, with fences being painted, gardens being tended, cakes being made, as you sampled earlier today.
Well.
So we're trying to make it a real hub of activity, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, the grounds are looking nice as well, aren't they? We saw all the pruning of the trees as we come in, didn't we?
Yeah, it does feel very welcoming.
Yeah.
And come in, apart from the registration process we have to go through.
Well, it's not unwelcoming, but it's just long-winded, isn't it?
It is when you're a one-finger typist.
Yeah.
So do you offer respite care here?
Yes,
you do.
Indeed,
yeah.
yes, very much so. That's an important part of the service that we provide.
Yeah.
Whether it be for a day or overnight. But yeah, certainly that is an important part.
That's quite interesting that you remember the children in the family, because we always think of the child that's got the illness and the parents who are coping with it.
I think it's really great. And some
really
of the
great.
feedback that when in my role, I write press releases about some of the events, like the sibling days, and that's frequent feedback is that it's a really lovely opportunity for families for the children to do something that they might ordinarily not be able to do, and a place that, as a family with the lead child, it would be very difficult to access. So therefore, they miss out on that opportunity. Whereas hopefully these days provide them that outlet to do something, as I say, that they might not otherwise be able to do.
And I noticed that this week is a special week, from the 2nd to the 8th. It's Volunteer Week, isn't it? Where can you tell us a bit more about that? Yeah,
of course. So this is a national celebration week, Volunteers Week, as you say. It's an opportunity really just to shout from the rooftops and really thank the army of volunteers that help our organisation function. They're incredible people, and again, in my role, I'm fortunate enough to speak to lots of volunteers. We've just had a big 3-week campaign to try and recruit more retail volunteers, and during the course of that I spoke to lots of existing volunteers, and they're amazing people, incredibly selfless, And they all just willingly, joyfully give their time to help and support us in all different ways. The retail volunteers is a high percentage because of the shops that Brad spoke about. But as you've seen today, people come in and they'll help, and they'll give up a morning or a day, tending to the garden, painting fences, helping on the front desks, doing more administrative things. At events, we have lots of mass participation events and groups and events, the sibling days. There's so many ways that people give up their time to support us, and it makes the most extraordinary difference.
You've got lovely grounds here, but with lovely grounds comes a lot of maintenance, so you need that support, don't you?
Definitely.
And also, 16th of June of this year is National Children's Hospice Week. What does that entail?
Yeah, so again, this is a really important week nationally, and it's a chance to really celebrate the work and the role that children's hospices across the country, across the UK, play in people's lives. So it's just a really lovely way to try and tell people a little bit more about what children's hospices like ours do. Yeah, to try and raise awareness, just kind of give people a little bit of insight, because I think sometimes people. There's a lot of misconceptions about children's hospice care, and that's something that I encounter through the course of my writing. When I speak to people, I think that they often say that their initial perceptions of what it would be like are actually very different to the reality, and we try our best to talk about that and showcase that throughout the year. But Children's Hospice Week is just a nice opportunity to really, come up with some great content to try particularly hard to spread that word and project that message.
Yeah, walking around, you're certainly geared up for everything with all the electronic hoists and beds and things. But it's nice to see the personal touches with the names on the doors. Mm-hmm. Did the children do those name plaques themselves? Because obviously they're hand drawn and.
I don't actually know, to be honest. No. I think they do sometimes. Yeah, I think they do, and
there's two footprints on one of them.
Yeah, I think so, and I know parents often say that they really appreciate those little touches. Yeah, such a small thing, but it's something that really resonates with them, and it just makes it feel like a more personal.
Well, like you said, they have their own personal stuff in the room, so it is their room, and they know that nobody else has been in there. It goes a long way, I think. Yeah, it's a great idea. And talking of charities and things like that, we was fortunate to go to the 5th show at Christmas, weren't we? One of your patrons is Griff Rhys-Jones, and we was very lucky to have him on our podcast a couple of weeks ago. So can you tell us a bit about the nights that he puts on day?
Yeah, Griff's been an incredible supporter over the last 5-6 years with Happy Christmas Ipswich, which every single year has continued to raise more and more money. I think it was north of 160,000 last year that was raised at it. So he's going to do it again this year, which is incredible. The amount of time and effort that he puts into. He's local to Ipswich, obviously. Yeah. He's recently just had an event where he had some local people come across and trying to drum up that support and the sponsorship for the event. And at the moment, as he said, he doesn't have anybody to feature, but he knows he will get people to feature. We've had some fantastic comics, as you would know, who've come along every single year, and the acts get better and better. It sells out faster and faster, and it's a real centerpiece of what Griff does for each, and we're absolutely indebted to his dedication and support for the charity.
Must be quite a bit of pressure for him calling on these celebs, trying to get answers out of them, because a lot of them have to give their time freely, don't they?
But they do, absolutely.
Because when you put one good show on, the next year you've got to try and beat that, haven't you?
Each time, yeah. Yeah. Brad, moving over to you, you've had a real personal experience of this charity, haven't you?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So my son Stanley was born in 2011, had a condition called 22q11 deletion syndrome, which is a genetic condition, and it basically meant that the biggest thing that happened with that was his heart had tetralogy which is 5 faults within his heart. We were unaware of that until he was born. 20 minutes after he was born, he was within NICU, and me and my wife were with a very, very sick child. He was down to London for open heart surgery at the age of 8 days. We were airlifted for an emergency surgery when he was 5 months old. We had him home for a number of months in between that, a number of months after the second surgery, and things were looking quite good. But he needed to go back for a third open heart surgery. you know it's a risk. You always know it's a risk, but we were under incredible care. We weren't within each yet because we didn't expect him to die. So we knew of each, but each was that charity that helps other families.
Yeah.
It's that charity that's over there. Our son died through the surgery. We had to make the horrible decision that evening to let him go. When my wife and I got back from London that evening morning, I can't remember which it was, everything was a blur. Walked into an empty house. He was our first son, first child. His stuff was still there. We didn't know what to do. We'd sort of been released, not realizing where any support might be. And the very next day we had a knock on the door, and I still remember it now. And there were two people standing in front of us, and all they said was, "We think you need us." We didn't know where they were from or who they were, and they came into the house, introduced themselves as from East Anglia Children's Hospices.
Right.
At that point, I'm thinking, well, my son's died now. Why do I need you?
Yeah.
And they said, we offer bereavement support. We will be there for as long as you need us. And my wife and I, my wife Deb and I, who grieve very differently. I tried to support her. She tried to support me, but we do it very differently. And that was incredibly difficult. So we didn't know what we were doing to help each other or help ourselves. They came into our house and gave us bereavement support on a one-to-one basis for, I think it was about a year. We attended some group bereavement sessions. We still attend the memory days that the hospices, all 3 hospices put on a memory day. We get an invite every year. We still attend every year. Our son died in 2012, so this will be the 13th year that we'll have gone to a memory day this coming September when they happen. So when you're part of the Each family, you're always part of Each. So you're part of that club that nobody wants to be a part of. But you see other families over the time who are still going through the same. It never gets better. It just is different.
Yeah.
And you just learn through Each, and what the teams have been able to do is just help support us and find ways on the bad days to be a little bit better, to realize the bad days are going to be there, to be able to talk about Stanley, to understand that we don't have to be quiet about it. You know, people feel more awkward asking us about it than we do talking about it a lot of times.
Yeah.
But they've been absolutely invaluable, and I've got a huge amount of respect for what they did for us, and the amount of support, no questions asked, is something that I'll always remember and really helped our family massively.
How did they find out so quickly?
My understanding is that Great Ormond Street, which is where our son was, alerted Each that he had died, and they let them know, is what my understanding of it is, and they came and knocked on our door. So it shows them sort of the network that sits underneath what we do as a charity, and the links into those, your Adam Brooks and your Great Ormond Streets and other kind of key primary care providers, to be able to know that that the support is there.
Do you think you would have gone out searching for help if they hadn't come along? Or do you think you tried to do it on your own?
That possibly. I'm glad I didn't have to. I'm really glad I didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Because the first hours, and they were there within a day, those first hours were, what do we do? Do we change his room? Do we not change his room? Do we close the door? Do we speak to people? Do I go to work? Do I not go to work? You have no idea what you're doing. And just the normal day-to-day tasks are irrelevant, because your life is completely
bereavement is different in every person, isn't it?
Oh, completely.
We had a lady on a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, talking about bereavement and all that, and the difference. Some people can get over it quickly. Some people say, "Oh, time's a great healer," but is it a great healer?
I always remember one of the best things that was said to us is, it's like a fog. So the fog is always sitting above your head, and it's always there. Some days the fog comes a lot lower and sits down over your head. Sometimes it goes right down over your whole body and you feel that way. And sometimes it'll lift back up ahead, but it's always going to be there. You just have to know that it's there, and just have to be able to feel that at times that you're down. That's okay. You're never going to forget. I'm never going to forget my son. I'll remember the good times. I'll remember the terrible times that we had, and the horribleness that we went through. But being able to remember him, the things that Each did the days afterwards, they went down and they took fingerprints and footprints and molds. I've got cufflinks with my son's footprint on them.
Oh, excellent.
I wear a pendant around my neck with his fingerprint in them. It's just little things like that you don't think about in the days after.
No.
Each does.
Yeah.
And our teams do. And they went and they took these, so that we know that he's always with us somewhere. I wear one, my wife wears one. We never would have done that.
I asked for a lock of my mum's hair when she passed away and all that.
It's so valuable.
I've always got that in my drawer. You know.
I'm staying in my pocket.
Yeah, it's nice just to have that memory. But what I think with you is obviously, sadly, you lost your son. The support carried on after the bereavement, didn't it?
Oh, years. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I think sounds great with Each.
And grandparents. So I think that's one of the things, and Matt alluded to it a bit earlier. At that time, we didn't have any other children. We have two healthy boys now.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of points we've had to learn. One, grandparents. So grandparents aren't just grieving their grandson or the granddaughter, but also their son or their daughter. Because they haven't just lost one person, but they're now having to take care of their own son or daughter.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. Grandparents, that's something they have to deal with. We don't talk about that much, but we have grandparent support groups to help with those. Siblings, as Matt said, of helping with the siblings. And even afterwards, when our boys got old enough for us to start to talk about Stanley, their brother, who they're never going to meet, talk about him more, we asked the team at each, how do we do it?
Yeah.
And there were some books and there were some other bits and things of that sort.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those little things like that where they've got a couple of books at home they can read through, and it just helps them to feel okay to ask questions. Pictures of them up, videos. We haven't quite got to the point of being able to do the videos yet, but I'm hoping in the next little while we'll be able to sit down and watch some of the videos that we had of Stanley, of their brother, because they want to know him as well. They're never going to meet him. It's a big void in their lives that my wife and I can't relate to. Because we did meet him. So it's all these weird dynamics that you're trying to figure out as time goes by, that you can always reach back into the teams here at each and speak to other families that are going through the same.
And now you work here.
I'm a volunteer. I'm a volunteer, yes. Yeah. So I joined the trustee board in 2016, which is, as Matt said, is a volunteer post. So there's 12 of us who are responsible for the overall governance of the charity. And over the last year and a half, I was fortunate enough. One of the sort of greatest honours that I've had is being elected as chair of this absolutely fantastic organisation. So it's something I feel immensely privileged to be able to do.
Well, you answered that question completely differently to what I expected. So I expected it to be more about Stanley receiving support and care from each rather than you and your wife.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
It just shows you the two folds. And as we walked around today, you saw the young child that was in there today getting support, watching a bit of TV, we've got the sensory room. So it just shows the all-encompassing support that we offer for everybody as part of the family. And it's, as Matt said, yes, dying is what happens and was what we deal with and what the teams deal with in supporting, but it's everything leading up to that, because that's not the part you want to remember. You want to remember all the really great, amazing things, the hydrotherapy session that's about to happen, for the child going in and having a bit of a play in the hydrotherapy. That's the stuff that makes the real memories for the families, and that's where really what our focus, our efforts on.
And you got big plans for hydrotherapy?
We do. We've got big plans for this site. So this site was opened in 2012. It was opened by the now Princess of Wales in her first royal engagement, actually, was opening here. And we just need to, we've outgrown it a bit, is what it was. It was state of the art. It's exactly where it should have been in 2012, but that was 13 years ago. Things change. And the hydrotherapy pool, which is really used, is very small. The location of the change rooms just doesn't really work anymore. So we're going to expand the room that we're sitting in, actually. We're going to expand this out quite a lot further, build a new wellness area, new hydrotherapy pools, its own entrance, so that all the things that we've learnt in hospices, children's hospices, there aren't a lot of them. So there's not a huge template to be able to pick up and say, that's how you build one. Just things that we've learned from the other hospices.
What are some of the current challenges the hospice faces? Funding obviously is
I think that's constant. Probably the thing that springs to my mind. To my knowledge, I think very much funding, because obviously things go up, costs go up, and as I say, 15% of our income coming from statutory sources, it clearly isn't a great deal, is it? So there's an awful lot of pressure to raise money through the different sources. Thankfully, the retail operation flourishes and continues to thrive. And as Brad said, we've got 52 shops. A 53rd is opening during Children's Hospice Week in Stowmarket.
Right, yeah.
So that takes us up to 53, and I believe there's plans to grow that a little bit further as well. So that's hugely important. It's that reliance on the goodwill and the generosity of the public to raise money through organising different events. I think we're really blessed and fortunate that there is a lot of warmth, rightly so, towards each. I think that's one of the things that, again, I encounter in my job, speaking to people and fundraisers, speaking to our fundraising colleagues, and there is an awful lot of warmth and goodwill towards each, which is fantastic and really important.
Yeah.
Talking of raising money and things like that, you had a big tea break, didn't you, recently? In March, was it? In the big tea break? Did that go well?
Yes. So that's the second year that we've held that event. And that was successful, and that's an opportunity to try and bring people together and to, relatively simply have a cuppa, slice of cake.
Mm-hmm.
And
like me today, really.
I was going to say, you would have loved it. You would have loved it. And
when's the next one?
Contribution. Yes, you'll be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, fundraising. We have our events. Happy Christmas Griff's Show is clearly a hugely important part of that. But we've got peer-to-peer walks. One in Norfolk, one in Suffolk.
That's on the 7th of June.
That's it. Yeah, that's right. We have one in Suffolk in September. Bubble rushes. We had the Norwich Bubble Rush recently.
And you've got a Newmarket Bubble Rush.
Newmarket Bubble
on the
Rush.
6th of July.
Yes.
Mention these dates so if people are nearby, they can hopefully attend.
Absolutely. That's right. And all the information about signing up is on our website.
Yeah.
And they're great events. And again,
there's lots of information on there,
yes,
which is where I've got my facts and figures from with dates and all that. So if people want to get on there, tell them how they get on.
Of course. So it's just each.org.uk. That's our website. And all the information is on there about all the different events. Also volunteering, as we spoke about earlier, there's some information on there and telling people how to get involved if they would like to.
Mm-hmm. There was another one I saw on a piglet.
Yes.
Junkie hog.
Yes.
I hope you pronounced that right.
Yeah. I do, because I'm looking at my writing on the 13th of July. Tell us about that. I was interested.
Yeah. So the piglet is that's coming up. That's very popular. That's a real family event where parents, children can come along, and it's like a muddy, wet obstacle course. Lots of fun. Lots of pictures.
Don't look at me.
No, don't you look at me.
Lots of fun pictures at the end of people covered in mud, and it looks great fun. So that's one for all the family. And then later in the year, there's an event called the Whole Hog, which is more a bit more hardcore and more for adults. But they're great, and the mass participation events. And
there's a peer walk, isn't there, as well?
Yes.
Rather than, so people like me who don't like running, they can do, it's shorter distance as well, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's where's that, at Cromer, is it?
Yes. So the Norfolk one is Cromer to Great Yarmouth.
Yeah.
That's 32 miles.
Yeah, that's the run, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a walk.
Oh, it's a walk.
Yeah, that's a peer-to-peer walk.
Okay.
Yeah, leaving Cromer and walking along the Norfolk coastal path to Great Yarmouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a Suffolk one as well, which is shorter, which is 16 miles. And they're really good. And lots of people, perhaps service users or people that have got a connection to each, or actually just people that just want to support to sign up and really get in the spirit. And they do it in groups and in teams, and they're great events.
Yeah, and if people can't get to those, and I notice there's also if they want to donate furniture and things like that, you do a thing where you pick it all up, don't you? And things like that can be organised. Because sometimes people think, I've got this, I don't know what to do with it. So you can organise through your...
Yes,
to pick these things
and that
up.
Information's on the website as well, and that's another important way of raising funds. Like we've spoken about the shops a few times, and they're hugely important, and they're actually really beautiful shops as well. They're really great boutique shops.
And I think with the cost of living crisis, repurposing and that is really starting to take off.
Definitely. So people are very conscious of the environmental benefit.
Are there any things that you can't take for these places? Like they had to have a fire retardant label on them, or don't you take those now? Or
that's true. Yeah, there are some restrictions. I know things like sofas, they have to have the fire label. That's certainly true. And I know that things like fridges and things like that we can't take those in the shop.
Yeah,
some of the donations are amazing, and it's an incredible operation. And some of the things that go on sale or are cherry picked for eBay as well. And that's a hugely important source of income.
Oh right, yeah.
eBay, and there's a whole team of eBay champions that have got a finely trained eye, and they'll spot things that have got potential to do well online, and invariably they do.
Yeah.
We've also got a bookshop as well, an online bookshop, which is again really fantastic, and that's the team that run that are based in Thetford at our retail distribution centre, which is where I often spend time.
Yeah,
it's really interesting talking to them, because that's such a vast operation. The books, they scan them, they list them, they sell them, post them out, and it's brilliant, really great.
Yeah. So Brad, being chair of the trustees, are the trustees all made up of people who've had a bereavement or a association with a charity?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have a very wide and varied group of trustees, so it's very much on skill sets.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is we try to recruit volunteer trustees who will fit a particular need. So whether it's legal or financial, fundraising, obviously medical. So we have a now retired consultant neonatologist. There's a anaesthetist. We've just brought in a senior nurse to sit on the trustee board. There's an ex-barrister. There's a partner legal firm. There's quite a wide variety. So at the moment, there's two of us that have dealt and used each services that are on the board. He's a lecturer at a college. I run a golf club, so we come from very odd, differing backgrounds, which makes the group really well. And our job is there to support, challenge the executive team, who are the experts: our care director, our CEO, finance director, HR, retail, all the guys who really know what they're doing and really drive the charity forward. And our job is just to support as best we can, challenge, and have that overall governance. But it's a really great group that we have. We're fully committed and really into the charity. It's not something we want people to just put their name on because it's a nice to have. You have to want to be involved and get your sleeves rolled up.
Do you find red tape and health and safety and all that sort of thing getting in the way at times?
Less so for us as trustees, probably. You much more so from the exec team, and being within the clinical world as well. So we are CQC governed, so the Clinical Care Commission, and all three of our hospices are outstanding rated. That's incredibly important. So we do welcome the CQC, the ICB in. We work very, very closely with all of the medical partners that are out there to make sure that we are best practice. We've got a very good network of other hospices, other hospice leaders, and again, making sure that the safety for children is absolutely paramount. It's critical. The risk assessments, everything is done to make sure that it's as safe as possible for the child and their family coming in.
Yeah.
So it is a good balancing act, but the team seem to do an excellent job in making sure that families don't see that as much, but they know it's there and they feel safe, but they're able to come and enjoy what each is able to provide.
What I hope it comes over in our conversation is the enthusiasm of you guys here, and everybody's so friendly. And you guys come over with so much enthusiasm for the place. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
For the people who work here, they want to be here. There's lots of nursing and healthcare jobs out there, and the incredible care teams come here to take care of children who are quite sick. And it's a real speciality that they provide. And the ones who sit in our fundraising team, they know why they're raising the funds. They're in the door, in the room next to us where we're sitting now. So within the hospice environment, they see what they're doing. And all the volunteers, our volunteer workforce, I think 2,500 at the moment, which is an incredible amount of people.
Yeah.
But again, everybody just wants to help in some way with not a huge amount of recognition, but we have to notice how amazing that these people actually are.
So say like the gardens, do you have a head gardener? No?
No, it's all volunteer. It's all volunteer.
So they just look around and they think, "Oh, this needs pruning. I'll do that. I'll paint that fence."
Yeah, it's all coordinated through. So we do have maintenance managers, site facilities managers at each place, but all of the work and the thing that you've seen are all volunteers. So they will come. It's all coordinated and brought in, but they will come in and take care of it. So they might like gardening. They might be,
and obviously members of the public do it. But would a company?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We work with a lot of corporates and companies who, in one way or another, some will raise money and donate. Some want to come in and see what's happening. So we will have 4, 5, 6 people from a local firm, whether it's in Cambridge, Norwich, Ipswich, or any of the counties. They may come in and do some gardening. They might come in and paint a wall. So they'll find things for them to do to get them engaged with the charity and the hospice. It's important. It's important for us, for people to see what happens. I think Matt said very early on, the perception of a hospice of just sick and dying children isn't the perception, that's the reality. You've seen that walking around today. It's
definitely 100%.
very different.
Yeah.
East Anglia is quite a rural community. Is there any plans to add number 4?
Not at the moment, because the type of care is very much evolving. So where our physical sites, we have people coming in, our teams are on the road a lot. So a lot of care is done in the home or in the hospital or in other locations. So our teams are traveling all over East Anglia delivering care all of the time. So we have 6 beds in each of the hospices. They're never really all full in that way.
Yeah.
we'll have 2, 3 children in, something along that sort of lines, 4 children sort of once in a while, but care will be happening in the community all over the place. So the demand of another hospice and where we would go is questionable. There's a lot of really great other hospices that are surround us outside of East Anglia that we want to work with to make sure that there's no gaps in the support that are given. There's certain areas where we feel that we can offer more support. Sort of Peterborough area is an area that we don't feel that our influence of giving support is quite wide enough, and we'd like to find ways to make sure that people know we're there in case they need us. And some of the other more rural locations.
Looking at the facilities you offer here, which I have to say are absolutely amazing, you're going to need specialist vehicles and things like that, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's specialized, and we work with a lot of partners.
Yeah,
that's what's really important. Is it's not everything done by us, but there are a lot of other charities that we'll work with, a lot of other supports that we will work with to help families get in if they need to, for us to get out there to be able to offer that support. And as you said, we can have children that can walk in, and we can have children who are completely wheelchair bound and nonverbal that come in that will need that complete and total support. So it's a wide variety, and they could be in at the same time, which is fantastic to see at times as well.
Yeah.
And is each of your venues, the staff trained exactly the same way? Or do you say get a child in one place and think, well, I think that'd be better at,
No, we try to tend to go to the local area for the family.
Okay.
So our teams are very specialised, and there's a lot of joint working across the 3 hospices. The culture sort of tri-site meetings, but within the care side, there are real specialties. So symptom management, who are 24/7, who on the end of a phone call. So on a Saturday night, if the symptoms of the child have changed or pain is breaking through, they can phone up our teams rather than waiting till Monday or doctor. We're going to A&E to be able to say, what do we do? And our teams are on the end of the phone to help them.
Yeah.
We've got long-term ventilation, trained nurses who will be here, hydrotherapy, physiotherapists, occupational therapists. It's a real multidisciplinary team that we actually have. And then of course, your pediatric nurses, our healthcare assistants who are absolutely vital to what we do, your housekeepers, your chefs, everybody that's kind of within that. So it's a really, really specialized. So as a child's coming in, the team will have that pre-meeting, knowing what the needs are, and we'll coordinate the teams to make sure that we've got everybody that we need for that child. It could be 1-to-1, it could be 5-to-1. It really depends on the complexity of it.
Yeah, that phone call is I think is vital, because obviously I have cancer. I can call my oncology team Monday to Friday, but come the weekend, there's an answer phone.
I know your experience when my son was ill. We were home with oxygen. If his condition changed on a Saturday night, and it's always on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's never on a Monday and during the day. It's always middle of the night on a Saturday or a Friday when you know there's nothing there. We'd be doing the same. There wasn't anybody to go to, or you're going to A&E, and who wants to go to A&E on a Saturday? So to be able to pick up the phone and our teams are there, or if a child changes condition rapidly, our teams will be there on the drop of a hat. They'll get out to the family in the home if they need to. They'll do everything they can to bring the child into the hospice if necessary. So they'll be right there. And like say Christmas Day, New Year's Day, Sunday morning, whenever it happens to be, the teams are unbelievable.
Obviously, the shops are keeping your name out in front. That's a great advert. Brad's story today is, although I've been involved with each in the past, and I've got a friend who's been tapping into this service for a number of years and still is, I was totally unaware of what Brad has gone through in his story. I was totally under the impression that this was for the children and the families during an illness and not after. How do you communicate and engage with the community and let them know what services you provide?
It's a good question. So I'm part of the marketing and communications team. So that's something. There's 8 of us, and it's something we're all really passionate about. This is our jobs, and we have different roles, and there's different ways that we try and project our message. Things like social media. We have publications that go to supporters, to volunteers. We have our website, obviously, which is fantastic, and we take great pride in. And speaking from my own experiences in my role as media and PR manager, I spend my days writing about each for our website, for the local press, the local radio stations. Just the variety of the things to write about never ceases to amaze me, really. There's so much within each bubble, such diversity from a fundraising event to a really challenging family story. And I'm very blessed in my role that I get to write about all of these different things and try and share that message with as many people as possible through the media.
Yeah.
It's lovely that you picked up on our enthusiasm, Martin, because that's definitely the way that I feel, and I know Brad feels. Everyone does. Everyone has this common sense of duty. There's this common sense of compassion. People really want to do the very, very best they can, because I think the perception that we spoke about at the beginning, I think that's something I personally feel really strongly about. I think it's really striking that people think of a children's hospice as being a really dark, gloomy place, actually, with storm clouds overhead. And when I tell people what I do, sometimes I sense, and I know I'm speaking to colleagues, they say the same thing. There's almost a bit of a tilt of the head, and I don't know how you can do that. That must be such a sad job. And what I always say to people, and what I love to say, is that it's really not like that at all. These places are amazing, full of amazing people, and incredible things happen here. And yes, there's sad days, and yes, there's challenging days, but there's a lot of fun and a lot of joy here, and living life to the full and bringing people together, creating memories. It's really special and it's really powerful, and that's what I love about it so much. That's why I love my job, because I like witnessing these things and then just trying to share it with people through writing.
Are a lot of the children aware of their illness?
Yeah, I think it obviously depends on a case-to-case basis.
Yes,
but certainly, with my own eyes, I've been at events where you can see the children engaging with whatever it may be, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's some kind of activity. I've been to beach days at Felixstowe, and we've taken the children right down to the shoreline, and that's a very random example, but it's just something that really will always stay with me, because you can just see the child connecting with the experience, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, I think it does very much depend on a case-to-case basis. Another example from very recently that springs to my mind is I was at the Nook when a volunteer came in with her PAP dog,
right? Yeah,
her therapy dog, and just to take a step back from my point of view and watch the child interact with Jenny, the volunteer, and Ellie, the dog, was amazing.
Yeah.
And that, again, it's just one example, but I think it just emphasises and highlights, the difference that each can make.
And now we're joined by Kevin Clements, who is the chief executive of each. What's your role in the chief exec? All right. Okay.
He's responsible for everything.
We should like him up then.
Yeah. I get to go home. I'm a
Perhaps
volunteer.
we should have bowed as you come walking in rather.
So you're responsible.
Yes.
Well, ultimately. Yeah.
It's a fantastic. We've had a tour, haven't we?
Yeah. How did you get into your role?
I've been in the sector for about 20 years now, so it was fundraising initially, and then just
stepped up.
Yeah, and then an opportunity came up at the beginning of last year, and had to go for it. Absolutely delighted to be.
Have you got personal experience, or is it?
No,
just
no, I don't.
No,
I worked in adult hospice care for a number of years.
Yeah,
which I do have a lot of personal experience on that front, but no, I don't have personal experience of our service here at each. But obviously, I know lots of people that have.
Kevin was our fundraising director. Before stepping up as chief executive.
I've just tapped the record button on here, by the way, guys. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. I should have mentioned that because that's quite interesting having the chief exec's point of view.
It's a fabulous organisation.
If you don't mind.
No, of course I don't. No, that's a pleasure. But it's an absolute privilege. I mean, what we do day in, day out. The volunteers that support us as well, over 2,000 volunteers. So completely outnumbering paid staff.
Yeah.
Myself, because it's Volunteers Week this week, so it's at the top of my mind at the moment.
We gave that a mention.
All right, you probably covered all this.
No.
A lot of it did,
just made a point that we did mention that.
Yeah, a robust position, but
you still can't take your eye off the ball, can you?
You can't, particularly with the autumn budget was quite a shocker for our sector generally. big increases in national insurance that have had, quite a big impact, unavoidable. So we're constantly campaigning for that situation to improve. So it's relentless, really. You can't let it go.
No.
We came into the new financial year with additional costs of £926,000.
Wow.
Just to stand still.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're a very ambitious organisation, so we want to reach more children, young people, families. So we don't just want to stand still. So we're constantly having to grow our fundraising income, our retail income, as well as campaign for better statutory income. So there's a lot going on all the time.
Yeah. Not to mention that families are getting squeezed, so they've got less disposable income to distribute.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's a major factor for for fundraising. Of course, it is. So that's it's all part of the challenge.
And the quality of the donations we get is very high as well, and the way the shops are laid out. And Ian, who's our retail director, does a fantastic job in making them, I think you talked about it earlier, not feel like a typical traditional charity shop. You walk in and it feels like a retail shop.
Yeah. Do you have any problem with donations? Because the trouble is, a lot of towns now have got a lot of charity shops, haven't they?
We are lucky. We got 52 shops.
Yeah.
It's a massive operation for us. Maintaining the quality is obviously the big challenge there, because you do get people that use it as a dumping ground.
Yeah.
And I've seen it many times, who drive around the back of one of the shops and then are literally tipping, you might describe as rubbish, really.
Yeah.
So that's then a challenge for us, because the rag industry, without getting too technical, the rag industry has collapsed as well.
Right.
We used to benefit quite a bit from that financially. That's all declined in the last 12 to 18 months. So yes, retail, it has been a growth area, but I'm taking this into a negative direction, but the cost pressures on retail are much greater now than they were a year ago even. So that's another part of the challenge. One of the biggest growth areas is probably legacies, people leaving gifts in wills. That's something that not everybody likes to talk about.
Yeah.
But actually, we do receive some really, really significant people that will leave hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Some people leave their entire estate.
Yeah.
Which is mind-blowing. So the generosity of the public doing things like that is the reality of what keeps East Anglia's children's hospices going and thriving and able to grow. It is that simple, because we cannot rely on the state to fund the services and all of the resources around the free hospices.
And it saves the inheritance tax for these.
Well, there are those benefits. That's true.
It does.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, they haven't raised the inheritance tax rate for years. So the majority of families have fallen into that now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a drag.
It is. So, I mean, I suppose you've got a unit that's set up to try and pinpoint legacies.
We have, and we've also taken part in a national campaign in the last 12 months through Hospice UK, which has included national TV adverts for the first time ever. So that's quite positive.
Yeah.
And I think that over time will subliminally drive people to think about hospices when they're making their wills. And I know it will do, because, it's proven that advertising does eventually pay off for this kind of work. So
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Well, thanks, guys, for inviting us here to each this morning. And we really appreciate your hospitality and the cake. And I'd like to just thank Matt, Brad, and of course Kevin for telling us all about East Anglian Children's Hospice. Each.
But thank you very much for being honest and talking about it as well.
Thank you.
It can't be easy.
You've really opened my eyes today, and I think Brad more so, simply with his storyline. And we've had a tour of Each's facility here in Ipswich, and that is remarkable. And the work that you do is
outstanding.
Outstanding.
Good luck for the future.
Good luck for the future.
With your expansion and everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining
coming in and talking.
Yeah, thank you for speaking with us.
Well, Patrick, that's another episode done.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that.
Another subject covered.
Yes, that's right.
Thanks very much, guys, for listening, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Who's a Tom and Dick. We hope you've enjoyed our visit to Each. And please join us again next week. Take care and have a great weekend. Bye for now.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Who's Tom and Dick podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. New episodes are available every Friday. Thanks for tuning in.